Are you sure this is deep enough?
Oh, that's perfect. Carl was pretty skinny.
So you think somebody's gonna find this pretty soon?
Oh, I'm sure of it.
You seem to know a lot about this place.
Excuse me, sir?
What are you doing here?
Oh, my car broke down. I just need, like, some help or something. Dad?
Quiet. Don't make a sound.
Bethany, watch out!
Watch out!
And the deputy saw something in the river. And as they got closer and they dislodged it from the banks, they saw it was a human torso. No arms, no legs, no head.
It's beyond belief, imagination, or expression.
Yeah, we got something down here by the river, by the trestle bridge. I think we have something down the way there too.
Shortly after, they found a second torso downstream, caught in the branches again.
The families decide to contact police.
During that time, in the state law, they had to wait 48 hours to declare a missing person.
When was the last time you saw your daughter? She left last night with a friend of hers. She's a good girl. She always comes home when she's supposed to come home.
The sheriff instructed them to go home and wait. It was different back then. We all know now that those first moments are critical, and that's why we have the Amber Alerts now.
I was like stunned, shocked. And it's like, what? What's happening? What could be going on?
Just when it seems like nothing can stop George from doing the unthinkable, he's pulled over for suspicion of DUI.
You doing okay?
George was stopped in Nevada. He was charged with DUI and possession of firearms.
But George is able to keep his weapons.
He pleaded guilty to the DUI charge and no contest on firearms, and was fined $150 and left free. George's guns had been bought legally. They hadn't been used in a crime, so they weren't seized by the ranger who arrested him.
In hindsight, the incident is an obvious red flag.
Task force closes in on their #1 suspect after receiving a tip.
They talked with Kristen. She told them about Amar, and Amar basically surrendered to police.
Ambulances racing to the scene.
A couple of them went right on into the water, got all 3 children out of there within 2 minutes and had them back up on the shore.
The car was in only 4 feet of water. It didn't make any sense to investigators that both of them couldn't have just gone into the water and saved the children.
Amanda watches as their limp bodies are handed to EMTs, who immediately begin CPR. Then, each of her babies is put into an ambulance headed for the hospital, not knowing whether they will live or die. Maurice explains to the officers that it was all a freak accident, but things just aren't adding up.
According to Mr. Legrone, he tried to back it up and rev it and back it up, but the more he did, the wheel spun, and eventually the car just floated on into the water.
He said the electronic locks didn't work and therefore couldn't get the kids out, but the first responders stated that they had no problems opening up those doors and there wasn't an issue with the locks.
Amanda tearfully agrees with his story.
Amanda went along with the story that it was an accident because in some ways, that's probably what she wanted to believe.
Detectives head to DeAndre's house and find him hanging out with his girlfriend, Shantae. They ask him to come down to the station for questioning, and he agrees.
All right, fine.
Worried, Shantae decides to go along for the ride, and the detectives have no objections. At the station, DeAndre plays dumb.
While being questioned by police, DeAndre says that he was not with Rosemary.
The detective puts all of his cards on the table and informs the suspect about the missing persons report.
When they presented evidence to DeAndre, he switched his story up. He said, okay, you know what? I was with Rosemary. But you know what? As soon as she started nagging me about supporting the baby, I dropped her off.
Then he says he went out to the club with his girlfriend Shantae and his...
The detectives talked to Shantae, and she pretty much went along with the same story.
This was Shantae's opportunity now while at the police station to let them know what happened, spill all of it out, because maybe she could have gotten some sort of a deal, but instead she chose to protect her man, DeAndre.
Unsure if Shantae is involved at this point, investigators let her go. But DeAndre isn't as lucky. She agrees to take a polygraph test, and needless to say, she fails.
Finally, she decided that she was going to give up the goods and tell her versions of the truth. Investigators questioned her for hours.
Shantae admits that she was involved in the attack and that she had hidden in the car. But she claims she had no idea how far DeAndre was going to take it.
Shantae stressed to the police that there was never any talk of Rosemary dying at all. They just wanted her to miscarry the baby, but murder was never part of the plan. She did not sign up for that.
But it doesn't matter. Her involvement is enough to charge the once-driven young woman with murder.